Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Canadian Women of the Outdoors. My name is Nicole, I'm your host. Going to be a little bit different this time because we actually don't have a Canadian on, we have an American. I had the pleasure of hunting with her a few weeks ago for Punisher Camp and just talking. I was like, you know what, I'm going to get her on here because I want to talk to her about her experiences Canadian, like hunting in Canada. Which again is different from the States. And also she's new to waterfowl hunting. So we're going to touch base on that. So please welcome to the stage, Miss Emma Cox.
Hey, it's so good to talk to you again. Man, I've missed you. It seems like it was just yesterday. I was up in Canada to come up and hunt. I mean,
I was going to say, I live here, so I'm always up here.
Yeah, I know. It's probably not up for you either way, but yeah, it was just a couple weeks ago. Got my first trip up there, and trust me, it will not be the last. That was one to remember for sure.
I hope not. I definitely want to see you at Punisher Camp next year and maybe some other trips, or we come down there and do some hunting.
We did talk about that. We talked about some opportunities, not even in my home state, just, anything where you cross that border, it's just another flight for me. So we just got to plan it. I got a lot of time. You got a lot of time to burn and, things to hunt. So.
Oh, definitely. So we might have touched base on this, but I think I had a few wobbly pops at Punisher Camp. Where exactly are you from?
Well, I am from Utah, and I
did know that.
Yeah, you did know that until you, I believe, made the Napoleon Dynamite reference, which was so close because that's Idaho. So close.
I made a reference with Napoleon Dynamite. Okay, well, that's news to me.
Yep, you did. It was, I wish I could remember the exact reference. It was spot on, just wrong state. And Idaho is close enough. It touches our border. I'll give you the pass. It's fine. I am from a small town, Magna, Utah, out here in the West.
Magna.
Magna.
A pretty badass name.
You know what? You come down and see me. I'll take you through Magna. It's not like it's so far out from everything. It's not that far from the city, from Salt Lake City, which is, what most people are going to know.
I know Salt Lake City because I know in 2002, our hockey team kicked your ass.
I hope so.
Women's and boys. So just saying.
That's all right. That's okay. That's fair. Yep, we did host the Olympics in 2002. I was pretty young. I was very, very involved in it, in different things, being in, boy, this is a tangent from hunting.
A little bit, but you know what it is.
In the school choirs and stuff. It was pretty cool. If you get a chance to, if the Olympics are hosted anywhere near you, go check it out. It's awesome. But yep, I'm from a little town, probably 20 minutes or so max. And that's on a bad day from downtown Salt Lake. My experience coming up to Ontario is very, very different landscape wise from Utah because it's flat as a pancake out there. There's a lot of mountains on either side of me, east and west, and you go far enough north, you'll find them, and you'll find some down south too. It's very, very flat in Ontario. That's probably the one thing that I was like, where's the mountains at? Like,
you didn't even go to Saskatchewan. Like, we're not as bad as Saskatchewan. That is just prairies.
Okay. I was going to say, because somebody made the comment like, yeah, the birds are coming from those mountains over there. And I could not help myself. I was like, excuse me, sir, those aren't mountains. If I can see over it from the ground, that's a hill, not a mountain.
Okay, so your definition of mountain varies vastly from ours, I guess.
I'm pretty close to those Rocky Mountains.
I mean, realistically, anytime I have to hike up more than 20 feet, that's a mountain to me. And I'm struggling to breathe. So
you might, when we get you down here, you might struggle a little bit. Like if you go to, I remember you telling me you had some family that is over in Indiana, or was it Tennessee?
My sister and her husband live in Indiana, or in a state somewhere like Indiana. She texted me today. She's like, Cincinnati. And I'm like, where do you live?
Cincinnati is in Ohio.
Oh, okay. Well, I think they're on the border. I think
Okay.
they're on the border.
Either way, you go that way there. I don't know a lot about that geographically as far as like what their mountains are like, but if you come down into Utah, you're going to feel like you're suffocating. You're going to have no air and you're not going to know what to do. I'll warn you there. You'll be fine. It's
Oh,
okay.
did I reference throwing a football over the mountains?
Yes.
Was that the Napoleon Dynamite
That was
reference?
Napoleon Dynamite
That just, I thought, I bet you I could throw a football over the mountains.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe that was it. So yeah, I went from my mountainous state of Utah to all the way up to Ontario for a goose hunting camp. And you know what? I don't regret it at all. I'll do it again. That, I'm pretty new to it. And that was an intro to waterfowl hunting. Just
pretty
coming
good
up to Canada in general. I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I don't think I was prepared. Everybody had told me, when I started talking about coming up to do that, everybody's like, oh, you're going to go all the way up there. People that don't hunt, people that aren't, they were rather confused that I would go all the way to Canada just to hunt.
And do you have goose in your area though?
Yeah,
okay.
We do. We definitely do. I wouldn't say that I'm very, very new to it. This is only my second season waterfowl hunting in general. My first season being last year. We got into it way late in the season. So, I shot some ducks and it was great. And I learned a lot and it was super fun. It's very cold. I've only ever hunted in the marsh, sitting in the water and, try not to freeze your butt off. And so I get up there and we're sitting in fields, we're sitting in corn and I'm going, I don't need waiters. Like I trying to set up for this. I was talking to the people running the Punisher camp and I was talking to, my connection that was helping me get up there. And I was like, okay, well, like, what do I bring? Because I'm thinking my experiences of waterfowl hunting truly involves water, not just the name of the birds. It involves water. So I'm like, I'm trying to figure out like luggage and flying on a plane. I'm like, okay, like I got to bring my waders. They're like, no, you won't need those. I'm like, I don't need waders.
Yeah.
Sorry, what? Like it was a totally different thing for me. Again, I don't have a lot of experience in setting up in the Utah stuff, but I mean, it's cold and it's wet and it was much different than hunting in the corn and it's very different.
Field hunting for birds up here is a huge thing. Like it's mostly field hunts, like the cornfields, and that's where you're hunting most of your waterfowl. So it's definitely, I mean, I think I've hunted actually out of water where I needed waders like once or twice.
Really?
And I've been waterfowl hunting for 5-6 years now. So it's usually it is usually out of a field. So it's definitely different, which is again why I wanted to have you on here just to talk about like the differences and experiences. But we're gonna backtrack a bit, just because we kind of again sideways off track, but we're gonna come back on. And it is what it is. We haven't seen
that's
each other.
how our entire conversations went when I was up there, anyways. It's just like a merry-go-round of one to the other and make it back to that way, which generally is any conversation with me.
I'm surprised after that group chat. I'm surprised you still wanted to come up.
We can talk about that in a minute too. Boy.
Yeah, that group chat was just kind of like, I bet it kind of didn't really prepare you for it, but you were just kind of like, oh, okay, like here it is. But anyway, circling back. So you're from small town Utah, 20 minutes from Salt Lake. You and I were talking, and you started hunting like big game, right? So what kind of got you, like, did you have parents that hunted, or did you just want to do it yourself? Like, kind of what got you into hunting?
I was just thinking about that. We'd kind of, touch base a little bit before coming on, and I did not grow up hunting. I grew up a athlete, swimming, water polo. That kept us very, very busy. My dad did do some big game hunting growing up and with friends and things like that. but it wasn't a big thing in my childhood. We were always outdoors. We went camping. That's what we did. We didn't do these out of state trips anywhere for vacations. We went camping, and that involved a lot of fishing. And I can sit on a lake shore, on a riverbank all day. The fish don't even have to be biting. I've always been that way. I just love being outdoors. So as I got a little bit older, as I was done with sports and kind of, finding new things, if you grow up an athlete and then all of a sudden you're done, you kind of have to find your new identity, really.
Oh.
It can be very, very difficult. And I kind of had that time to go back to my roots of camping and being outdoors and things like that. And I had somebody gift me a bow, very, very old one.
Oh.
I still have it, a very, very old. I need to put it on a scale because the bow weight itself is just, that thing is a better suited for a boat anchor.
Jesus.
It'd be a great boat anchor. It's pretty heavy. And I shot my bow for quite a few years before I even, I'd always wanted to hunt. And the saddest part about it is I spent more time hearing from people close to me, people around me, connections, friends, things like that. Oh, you won't like it. You won't like hunting. Well, I've never been. So don't tell me. Tell me. I don't know. Why are you trying to chase me out of it? A lot of it, it's cold, it's hard, it's a lot of time, whatever their reasons were. I had so many people tell me I wouldn't like it. And I remember thinking to myself, well, then why am I shooting a bow? I'm not shooting a target bow. I'm not shooting this Olympic style at targets. I'm shooting 3D targets. I got into it straight from archery first. I didn't start with rifle. I went straight into archery. And
That's impressive.
I shot 3D.
Archery is hard.
It's, it's very, very rewarding, but it is very hard. I love it. And I wanted to make sure that, not being somebody that grew up and did this, not being somebody that had a lot of years under my belt just shooting a bow, I wanted to make sure that I was as proficient as I could be. So I did a lot of leagues and weekend shoots. We do 3D tournaments all the time. You have multiple all through the winter and things like that. So I got my bow, which then caused my dad to get a bow, and it kind of just became my dad and I. And we would go to these archery shoots. We kind of get my older brother gets into it. We're all outdoorsy. And I think it was about 3 to 5 years, wish I had better dates on this, that I find after that. And all that time, I still didn't even have my hunter safety. I wasn't able to even go out and get a hunting license to hunt. I was just strictly shooting a bow at targets. And I finally went, okay, at this point, I am comfortable with my bow and at different yardages and everything like that. I'm ready to hunt. So I go through my hunter safety, and I can't give you the exact age, but I was definitely over 21. So I'm only in this 8 to 10 years really of just stepping into the hunting world. And I drew out a deer tag my first year, and it was off to the races. I was not successful my first year. It had been a long time since my dad had also done any big game hunting. A lot of stuff had changed. Our tag system here in Utah, the regions, all of that. So it's just been a kind of fly by the seat of my pants, learn what I can from people around me, what I can research, websites, articles, podcasts, shows, you name it. Any kernel of knowledge that's been out there, I'm like, yeah, let me have it. Let me have it. And it generally comes from, just making connections. And so it took a couple of years, and I finally tagged out on my first doe. And we have a really cool opportunity here in Utah that if you draw a buck tag, you can hunt your general season, and then we have an extended archery season. And at that point, you can shoot either a buck or a doe.
Okay, so you don't actually have to get like an antlerless tag like we have to have up here.
Yeah, we do have them. We do have antlerless tags, and we have all those opportunities. But if you start out with that buck tag, which our archery hunt here in Utah is is in August. It's mid to late August. It's very,
Oh,
very hot.
wow.
It's
Okay.
very, very hot. There's no rut. And those deers, those mule deers are still in velvet 99% of your hunting. So it does offer that really cool opportunity to get a velvet buck. A lot of people have their different varyings and opinions on it. It's just your personal preference.
Yeah.
I have no, I'll shoot one. I'll shoot one in velvet. I'll shoot one not. I do not care. And so I have not been, you know, the most successful with big game. But I finally tagged out with a good friend of mine. We were up on just an afternoon hunt and I tagged out on a doe. She was the biggest, fattest doe. I was like, look, that's the one I'm shooting because at this point she's going in my freezer.
I was going to say that meat was probably like,
oh,
yeah,
primo. Oh, it was so good. So good. And she was a big doe. Yeah. And it was kind of unfortunate because I tagged out on my first animal and my dad was not there. Again, I do a majority, 99, I would say, % of my hunting big game wise is with my dad. And it's those opportunities that I'll never get back. I'm glad I do it. I'm glad to drag that poor guy up the mountain. You know, he's sometimes he's looking at me like he'd rather be anywhere else. And then we get to the top of the mountain and, you know, it's the people you surround yourself when you hunt with. You know, those people that you're with and those situations has made it still to where I am so happy to still be hunting, even though I don't have, you know, this big trophy buck on my wall. I don't have, you know, all of these animals under my belt because I am still kind of learning on my own, learning what I can from other people. It has gotten better, but because of these situations, because of these memories, I still consider every hunt I've ever been on, every tag I've ever drawn, successful in some way or form. I've learned something new each time and it's been great. And so it wasn't until last year, actually, that I did my first spring turkey hunt here in Utah. You can get those over the counter here. I did my first rifle hunting. We got some landowner tags to do doe. I did tag out on one of those. It was great. Also really great experience. It provided a whole new thing because I wasn't in the mountains. I was down on property, bordering the mountains. And then I had a elk tag. I did have a antlerless cow tag for late season last January. And we had this really, really rough winter and all of the elk moved down out of the mountains and across one of our big freeways and we're hanging out on the golf courses. And, you know, if you've ever been in one of those situations where you're seeing hundreds, and that's probably an understatement, hundreds of cows where you're just looking at them and you're like, well, they're over there and I can't shoot them there. And then you're looking at where you can shoot an animal and you see some of the nicest bull elk just hanging out, just looking at you like, hey, what's up? That hurts the heart a little bit. It's great to see. I love to go, you know, I love to see those animals out there. I love to see what Utah can produce. But that hurts to see as a hunter. And you're just sitting there like, there's not a damn thing you can do about it either. Boy, that one hurt. That one hurt.
So like mountains are something different. So like, my cousin actually got married in Banff. Mm-hmm. And it was during like the prime of the season. They actually, so we stayed in a hotel. We went out for supper the one night and they actually had to evacuate the school there because a herd of elk or whatever was in the schoolyard. Like just in the middle of, I'm assuming the rut, horny as hell. Like there was like 50, 60 of these things in the schoolyard. And then she got married at the Banff Springs Hotel, which is in the mountain. And again, like on the golf course, just a bunch of them chilling there. And we're all just sitting, cocktail hour, just sipping. And I'm just, it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, you're like, looking at them like, oh, you know, oh, front shoulder there. Oh,
I mean, I was very young. I was very young, but what I remember is a drunk golfer trying to go and mount one of the does.
Oh,
so me and my father had a very good laugh about that.
Yeah, you know,
and I'm like, you know, a drunk golfer, it's not a good time. I wouldn't do that if I were you, my dude.
But we're all gonna sit and make sure, you know, film to some manner. or you're going to commit that one to memory. It's like watching, I mean, it happens, I would say every year, but it happens nonstop in Yellowstone National Park. Why are we going up to the buffalo, folks?
Because people are stupid.
And, you know, I call that natural selection. And if you made that choice, nature's going to have an answer for you.
Right?
Like, this isn't a petting zoo, guys.
No. And that's the thing.
I don't know if it's just that as people, you know, as hunters, it really shouldn't even be that way. You know, they kind of tell you don't feed the bears. They have, you know, fences and, you know, safety measures in place at a zoo. I don't know why you think it's any better
in the wild.
In the wild,
when they're more wild.
Yeah, those are my favorite. You know, that happens. I would have also paid to see that guy, the drunken golfer, go. And if it was an elk, I mean, those are not small. Those cows, the bulls.
That thing was huge.
But those cows, yeah.
It's one of those things where I don't remember much about that trip, but that is the one thing I remember because I was like, that guy's got a death wish.
Yep. Oh yeah. You know, it never ceases to amaze me the things that people will do. It's and
like boring. Again, like the mountains are just, again, there's multiple memories of that trip, and then they all involved wildlife. Like we were taking a cab home from the hotel, and all of a sudden the cab driver just stops and shuts down all his lights. And my dad, he was a few wobbly pops in, and he's like, "Sir, like we need to get going. Like I just want to go back to the hotel." And the cab driver's like, "Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to stop talking." And then my dad, inebriated, he's like, "Buddy, I just want to get back to the hotel." And the cab driver's like, "Sir, kindly shut up and look to your right." We just look right. All we see is legs. There's a bull moose beside our cab. And the cab driver's just like, "We won't win. We need to wait until this is gone. Because if we startle it and it like turns or whatever," he's like, "we're done." And I've never seen my father like just shrink in like horror. I'm like, oh, okay. And again, like, it's just one of those things. It's like, you don't mess with the wildlife.
You know, so people always do. So it provides great entertainment, especially these days in the social media. It's out there. You'll find it. You know, it's
okay. So you've done archery. We're new to waterfowl hunting, which is how we met and how one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on here. So you've only been 2 years in, and you only hunted ducks, right? That was kind of your primary. So like, why the switch over to waterfowl? And like,
there is a lot of hunting opportunities just in Utah. I think that's why it shocked so many people that I was just gonna hop on a plane and go hunt in Canada. But we have it all. We have big game all the way down to the ducks. We have the marshlands. We have the bird refuges and everything like that. It was just another opportunity to get out there, do more. It was just, you know, I would wait all year for August, and I cherish it. I say it again. I cherish that time with my dad, and my brother has started hunting with us again. It's amazing. It is so much fun. I have the best memories. It's great pictures, things like that. But I just wanted to do more. I was like, if I love this so much, why not at least try it? And I've kind of adopted this mentality, especially like I mentioned, when you're no longer an athlete and you're trying to find these new things. Well, I'll try it at least once. Why not? And once again, everybody told me, you'll hate waterfowl hunting. You won't like it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm really tired of everybody telling me what I will and won't like. I'm going to try it. I will try anything at least once. And that's really all it was. In the same year of trying everything at least once, I did turkey. Wasn't successful, but boy, was that fun. That's on my to-do for next year. We did that doe, and then it came into waterfowl season. And I was like, okay, my problem, and I think what a lot of people assume is why I won't like it, is that I get really cold. I have a tendency to get really cold. And, you know, when you're cold, you're miserable. You don't want to be out there. So I just dress appropriately. I layer up like crazy. So what if I look like Ralphie from Christmas Story? I almost said Christmas Carol.
No, it's not Ralphie. What's his brother's name?
I hate that movie, to be honest. Everybody can skewer me, and it's just not my thing.
Oh my.
I know. I'm
Boy,
controversial.
humbug.
Well, I
Do you
don't
at least like,
hate
okay,
Christmas.
can you make up for it? Do you at least like Christmas Vacation?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're
Okay.
good.
All
We're
right. We're
good.
still friends. We're still friends.
Oh, we're still friends. Okay, good.
Okay.
Because
Sorry. Continue on.
yeah, and I just learned after that, it's like, what, if I can get the proper gear and that, you talk to people, much like I did prepping to come up to Canada. What do I need? What's the weather going to be like? Like things like that. If
I bet
I'm
you didn't
geared up,
expect to be hunting in like a t-shirt on the Saturday,
yeah, I wasn't prepared for that. Or I was
right?
prepared for that, but like it was shocking to me. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, so as long as I'm geared up, for me, I don't listen to anybody else when they're like, oh, you won't need that. I'm like, well, I get cold, so I'm bringing that. Then I'm good. Then I'll sit there. But if you're cold and miserable, nobody wants to sit there. So it
No, and I
thus
mean,
started. And the first couple times I went out and sat in that marsh, I was kind of, I had that first thought of, you're sitting there, you're in the water, it's cold. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing out here? This is, come on. Like, and I didn't want to say, oh, they were right. I didn't say that, but I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And then I shot that first duck, I mean, and just nailed it. And you hear them hit the water. You say you don't get to hunt over water a whole ton, but when, it sounds really bad. But like the minute I got that first duck, and I'm the first to admit, I'm not a great shot. I didn't grow up shooting shotguns and moving targets. That's not what you do with archery. I mean, they move, but like it's not a bird.
it's not, yeah.
It's not
They
a
might
bird.
move like an inch or yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bird. And so when I kind of figured it out and I got the hang of it and I shot that first duck, instant, I was hooked. I was like, oh, I like this.
So it's funny, this duck that is right here that Caitlin has named Fred. That's actually my first duck that I ever shot.
Oh, I love it.
Like beautiful redhead on Lake Erie. And again, like it was moving and two people shot, missed it. I shot, boom, thing just like dead on impact. It hit the water and dog went out. And I was actually with Damien. Damien was
Nice.
there that day. And he was like, oh my God, I can't even replicate his accent. He was like, oh my God, you smoked that duck. And I was like, well, and like the people I was with, there was 4 of us hunting, and everyone like the dog brought it in, and they're like, oh my God, that's a beautiful Drake redhead. I was like, well, I need to get that on the wall. So
absolutely,
that is my very first duck I ever shot, and I feel you when you like get that adrenaline. You're like, boom, it's down, and it's like down, and you're just like, yes.
I have sat next to you and close to you in a blind and watched a few other people shoot. And then finally, here comes Nicole. Bam. And the geese are down. I was like, yep, she caught it. They flew that way. You were down for me a little bit. And I was like, oh, Nicole's got us.
Yeah.
Everybody else is missing her. We hit a couple others.
I am not. I don't claim to be the greatest shot ever. I don't.
But when you hit them, you're crushing them, right?
Yeah. And it's not like a half hit. It's just like when I hit them, they go.
Yep. And that's kind of what it was like. My first duck, I don't have, I kind of wish, even though it wasn't, just even from what I can see behind over your shoulder, it's a beautiful duck. Mine, mallard hen. I missed the drake that came through. I got the hen. I have great pictures. So I need to start printing out some of these pictures. But I kind of wish, even though it was just a mallard hen and everybody would have told you, oh, yeah, mount that. Oh, I kind of wish I had, just because
it's your
I do have feathers. I do have I do have a handful of various different feathers, and I have feathers from every different type of, because we get a lot of them that come through. I have various feathers from each of them that I have. I have, feathers from the first teal that I shot, because I mean, I didn't know anything about.
You shot a teal? Damn, girl.
I did. I remember being in the stores, kind of getting gear and getting decoys and pointing in a box of teals and going, you know what? We have these here. We have the decoys in Utah. Like we have plenty. Yeah, we do. I will shoot one of those. Oh, well, good luck. Why? Oh, well, they're small and they're fast. Well, I'm going to shoot one of those. I don't care what you tell me. And I crushed it. And I was like, they were like, oh, but that was a teal. And I was like, oh, and I run out there and it's just this little teeny tiny duck compared to like a mallard. And I was like, oh, and once again, each one that I'd hit hooked. I'm so glad that on the various different things to do with hunting in general, Every single person that has told me, whether they had good intentions or not, or just had their own opinions lacing their comments, you won't like it. Well, nope. Joke's on you. I love it. I just want to be out there. I don't care if it's big game. I don't care if it's ducks. And I had primarily gone after ducks because you see those a lot more. It's not to say that we don't have geese here. And then the opportunity came up to come hunt geese. And I was like,
now we're
talking. Okay.
Now we're diving into the next question. We're going in to talk about your trip up here. So, you came up here from Eugene. You guys work for Traeger together, right? And what did he just tell you? So yeah, there's a ladies hunt. You should come up. Is that kind of?
So the fun part about the connection of how I, even got to meet you and come up to Canada in general is, yes, I work for Traeger Grills, and I'm down here in Utah where our headquarters is. And I work on the accounting side. And I have always, since day one of starting at Traeger, I have worked with our international team and mainly with Canada. So I do the accounting and the receivables for all of our Canadian accounts. And so I worked really, really closely with each of our salesperson and that team. They are wonderful. And then here comes Eugene. He would have to confirm for you how long he's been there, but Eugene starts, and I had already been talking to my rep in BC. He would talk about his moose hunting, and then, and then Eugene would talk about all of this. Well, all of this has happened. I've been at Traeger for, about 2.5 years at this point, and had never met this team. Fast forward to July of this year, because I started during COVID, and so they weren't bringing our Canadian team down very much, and if at all, and they bring them all down in July. And so I'm like, cool. Well, it'll be so great to meet you all. Like Eugene and I had plenty of phone calls, and we were talking, we'd get the work thing handled, and then, have a great weekend. Oh, I'm going out hunting, or, oh, I'm doing this. And so we created that where we talk about hunting and all kinds. And he comes down in July, and he's like, hey, you should come up to this. I got this women's only camp. And I'm like, oh, I don't have my passport, and I don't know. I really wasn't sold on it at first, because I'm like, okay. And mind you, we'd been taught, we talk on the daily with work. We had met in person once. I met Eugene in person once, and the rest of my Canadian sales team once. And then from July on, and I was like, all right, okay, I'll get my passport, maybe. But it was kind of in that like time frame of concern of, will it get here in time? Fast forward to it getting here. We were coming down to the wire. The Punisher team is reaching out to Eugene, like, hey, you keep talking about this person that wants to come up. Are they in? Are they out? Like, is she coming? And I got my passport on a Saturday. It finally showed up. I had let him know, yep, I'll be there. I think by Monday morning, I had my flight booked. And I think Monday morning, I was also thrown into the group chat because I'd confirmed I would be there. Woo,
yeah,
boy.
That group chat, I bet that threw you for a freaking loop.
You always hear, oh, the Canadians, they're so nice. And you guys are great people, very nice people. It was like the mask came off, and I had a bit of a fun part because everybody had nicknames. So then I show up day one of camp, and I walk in on Friday night, been on planes all day. You were already well ahead of me in the drinking.
I don't know what you're talking about. Me? No, I'm a well-behaved woman.
I walk in, and, we had all chit-chatted a little bit. I do recall I was pretty quiet up until I think like the week before.
The week of is when you kind of were just like, you said some stuff, and we were just
that came off of me. Oh, yeah. I think you guys.
Okay. So, because we were worried. We were like, oh, did we scare her? And then all of a sudden, I was like, okay, no, we didn't scare her. Here she is.
She can. Here we go. Absolutely. I mean, there were a few times where I would, because you guys are a little bit ahead of me time zone wise, I would wake up in the morning just to, hundreds of notifications. And I'd open up that chat, and I was like, holy crap, what have I signed myself up for? Have I made a mistake? All right.
Fun. You signed yourself up for fun.
I did. I was just like, whoa, wasn't prepared, and it was great. So I go up there not knowing who really anybody is. just everybody's nicknames. And so I think I walk in the door and everybody is, they're all welcoming. Oh, hi, I'm so and so. And then you walk in and you're like, what's up, Yankee Doodle? And then it started from there. I don't believe, other than the first 5 minutes of walking into that convention center, we'll call it, in the hotel, I think as soon as you called me Yankee Doodle for the first time, I don't believe I went by my first name for the rest of the weekend.
No.
I've never been called a Yank in my life. And because that's usually East Coast, right? I'm not from the East Coast. No. And so I just kind of was like, all right, we're going with this. This is fine.
You had multiple nicknames that weekend.
Yep. It kind of progressed. In fact, we went over them the other day, and it was a good time. I went from Yankee Doodle,
Utah,
Yankers, which that one was a bit interesting. Yank,
Merca
was starting to come out at the end. Miss America was coming out.
Yep.
But I have to give you guys credit. I think it was until the last day on Sunday morning that we finally sang Yankee Doodle Dandy at me. I do believe that was LA that threw that one out, thank you, her. But, it was kind of, I wouldn't say it was a gamble. I was going up there to hunt. Being able to find this great community otherwise was amazing. I was going up there to hunt because I had never shot a goose. Never once before I got there had I ever shot a goose. I had never hunted in a cornfield. I had never hunted outside of Utah, let alone internationally. So it was this whole process of getting my passport, turning around and getting all my licenses and everything I needed for Ontario, which really wasn't that bad of a process. I've told people since I've been back, they're like, oh, was it like, and I was very fortunate that I was able to borrow a gun that, if you're going to kind of travel and people, or you're going up to a camp.
Well, any of us probably would have given you a gun.
Absolutely. I had multiple people, and that made the travel that much easier and everything like that. A few people were rather impressed that I was able to bring the gear and my muck boots and everything that I did in a carry-on only.
Yeah, that kind of threw me when you told me that. I was like, huh?
Skill.
But again, I'm terrified of flying, so I don't fly ever.
I don't
know what I'm losing my mic here. I'm utterly terrified of flying. So I don't usually go on planes. So I don't know the rules of carry-on and stuff like that. For all I know, you could have a carry-on as big as my kitchen table, and I wouldn't even know that that's allowed. The last time I flew on a plane, so I'm 32, I think I was 20.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a bit.
And I'm like, no, it's not. It's a no for me. Like, I would rather, like, if we plan something, I'm probably driving to you because I'm just like, no.
You're like, rather not. You know what? That's fine because they confiscated my maple syrup. You Canadians are stingy with your maple syrup. We're not letting that get out of it. It was okay. It was my fault. You remember we were in the gas station, which was a fun one, right? I'm surprised you haven't thrown that out, and I hope you still have that video.
I do.
I
do. Oh my god!
Send that to me because I still giggle. But
the blue, what did you call them?
I'm not selling myself out that easily.
Oh, that was just
we haven't even really got into the weekend of everything, but the bottle was too big. I had forgot it was even in my backpack. Kind of forgot I had bought it. That was on our way back from the last morning hunt, racing back to the hotel. A lot of people were leaving. I forgot that it was in there. So that was a good time. Didn't get my maple syrup, but hey, I got to try a lot of things while up there. I get home and like, hey, what did you do in Canada? I was like, look, I went up there to hunt and I shot birds, and they just wanted to feed me. And you know what? That's a successful trip for me. I like food. I like to eat.
You ate well.
I did. I mean, I knew what I was walking into with the Traeger. So with all the food from Eugene, hopefully that was a wonderful experience for all of you guys that maybe weren't as familiar with our products and with what you can do with them.
Oh, I am a Traeger. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, we can talk about those Oreos all day, right? Like, I hadn't even had those before. And I could have made those anytime, but I was
Smoked
like, no,
anything.
I'm just, oh yeah. I mean, I have, to some people, I've smoked some weird things, and oh, that sounds odd. I've put some weird things on my Traeger. So it just turns out to be, it was a great experience. I went up there and I found this whole community. Yeah, I shot a lot of birds and I learned a lot. You know, the first morning it was really windy and everybody was kind of worried about that. They're like, oh, don't worry, we'll get these birds in. The birds couldn't land. I don't know if you really remember because you were sleeping on the floor of the blind because, you know.
It was like for 5 minutes. It's fine.
Yeah, sure. You know, but then we get to the afternoon hunt and it was just game on. I went from in one day hunting in A-frame blinds. That was new for me. In a field to hunting in standing corn. And you've got just that great cover. It was great. And so it just turned into like so much fun. And I think that's kind of, it's not that waterfowl hunting is not serious, but you don't have to be as silent as you do with big game, you know? So like that was kind of fun. This is the biggest groups I've ever actively hunted in.
And the giggles.
So it just was absolutely the trip of firsts. I walked into this room again. I was like, even if maybe I don't get along with these women super well, or maybe they're not gonna. I'm the American coming up. It's fine. I'm the Yank. It's fine. Like I can just go back. You know, I can.
Lorianne literally gave you facts.
She did.
Shared information with you about your state that you didn't even know about.
I did get into, Lorianne was my roommate. And after we had sat, and you know what was really great is I'm so proud of you for this podcast. You talked about this in hunting camp on that first night. Don't know if you remember telling me all about it.
No, I do.
And how long that you'd been thinking about this, and this was your goal. And then all of a sudden you're launching it. So like hats off to you. I'm so proud of you. This is awesome. You know, I know you're nervous. You say it, but like you're killing it. And we talked about that. So I had this great interaction of finding this community and learning things from you guys before we even touched our guns. I get up to my room that first night. Amazingly, Larry Ann's still up. And she's like, well, I looked up some facts about Utah. And I was like, you did? I was like, I don't know what to say to that. And I was like, oh, do tell me. Hey, I learned things about my own state. She told me about like what our main export was.
Is that what you guys were giggling about when I knocked on your door? I was like, are you guys still partying? Like, what's going on here?
I was laughing so hard. She's like, well, I was just worried, you know, and in case they didn't have anything to talk about. So I looked up some facts and I was just like, bless you. This is amazing. Like, I just... you know, and you guys all brought me a goodie bag. You know, like I said, I went up there and I ate, and I tried some weird things, and we had the arguments. What was that?
Ketchup chips? Like, no.
I actually will have a shipment delivering to my house. I thought they were great.
That's the one Canadian thing I can't. I mean, I'm not a huge ketchup fan to begin with. Like.
You know what? Everybody said that the actual chip doesn't taste like ketchup, so it's fine.
Can't wrap, like the smell of it just makes me like.
It is not smell. But yeah, we go up there and it just,
But you don't like Smarties. You're wrong.
Okay. For any of my Americans that hopefully listen to this.
Oh, here we go.
Doesn't mean our Smarties. She doesn't. Okay.
You're talking about rockets. Yep. Your Smarties are our rockets, which
exact same packaging. I Googled it, pulled it up, showed you guys. I was like, look, it is the same packaging, just different name. That's fine. I didn't love your Smarties. No, wasn't a fan.
Wrong.
Every other candy bar, every other, everything else. And I don't know if we're going to bring up the beaver tails or not. That's a scone. It is an American.
You are wrong. It's an
American scone.
A beaver tail is a beaver tail, and a scone is a British whatever you drink. You eat with tea.
I'm not British, honey. I'm not British.
It's a beaver tail is totally different, and
that's fine.
Like you need to get a beaver
else reference. They're like, oh, so when you make it, do you pour in the batter in the fryer? And I was like, oh, you mean a funnel cake? Okay.
Oh my God, what's wrong with you? It's a beaver tail. Beaver tail is a beaver tail.
No,
A scone is a scone, and a funnel cake is a funnel cake.
A funnel cake
3
is a
different
funnel cake.
things.
It's not a scone. I got that. It's fine. But like, I guess the batter, the flavor is similar when you think of like a funnel cake. But I go up there, didn't expect to find this huge welcoming community. All of these women that we all follow each other on social media. I think we sat in the blind one day and we were sending them out between the 2 different groups that we're hunting with and getting them all set up and following everybody. And, I've since, I was talking to Larry Ann the other day. I send stuff back and forth with you. Like just this connection is all. That was the other thing I was looking for.
We're going to end up hunting together again at some point.
If you don't think I don't I will block
probably fishing too. Like you said, you're into fishing. Like probably we're gonna be something.
I mean, I'm after. We have pike here, but we don't have that kind of pike here. And I will be up there for some fishing.
You need to get
walleye. Yeah. I would everybody talks about it. We do have some walleye here. I've never specifically went out and fished for them. But like my list just coming up for a simple hunting camp, women's only. I now have just this connection and all these other plans. And hey, you got to come back up for this. And hey, and I'm like, cool, I will see you guys there. Or you guys want to come down? You give me a call. I think the girls we all talked about, everybody wants to go down to Louisiana, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. You guys when you be there, I'll fly the opposite way and I'll meet you there. Like, let's go. There's no reason not to. And that's all I wanted. I wanted to learn. I wanted to shoot birds. But I think I said it from the first minute in the first morning hunting in the blind when those birds just couldn't land. It was so windy. I don't care if I don't shoot a bird. And I went up there with that mentality of like, look, you're going to have opportunities. Everybody that I told I was going up there to hunt, they're like, oh boy, you're going to ruin hunting for yourself. I'm like, yeah, probably, but I'll just go back up there. Yeah. I did not care if I didn't shoot a bird. I just wanted to learn and have these opportunities and just go. Like I told you, I was kind of, nope, never again will I be like, there better be a pretty good reason for me to haw around about not going and doing it. You guys are too welcoming. The community itself, it didn't matter that it was in Canada or Canadians. Like it was, I 100%, like I'll just call myself an honorary Canadian now. Like,
like we stayed up pretty late on the Friday night chit-chatting. It was just the 2 of us and I got into the bird dog. That's the problem.
Did you finally get into the bird dog? I thought you were just all on the beer because I was on bird dog.
No, I got into the bird dog on Friday night. I didn't even crack my bottle I brought. Eugene left us with the bottle. I'm like, good sir, why would you just leave us with the bottle?
That was another thing I learned is that you guys are all nuts about bird dog. And
if you come up here again, I'll take multiple bottles. Like I miss my sister, but like the best part about her living in the States now is when she comes back in to visit, I'm like, bring me bird dog.
And you know what? It's so plentiful here. Like you could just what we can't.
Well, that's right. She's like, yeah, I go to the liquor store or whatever they call it down there. And she's like, yeah, there's like a shelf, a row, like a whole thing. And I'm like, well, whenever be kind, please bring it back.
There you go. Yeah, you just have to let me know what flavors. I mean, I kind of even asked everybody. Nobody said bring me some bird dog. Nobody said it.
I didn't know that was an option.
I would have had to really check on the details. I did look when I was leaving. You go through the airport, you got like the duty. Yeah. Oh, you don't really know. You go through the airport, you got like the duty.
I do know, so I do drive to the States. I have driven to the States for hockey. I know duties. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So that was very new for me. Again, I'd never.
You have to have the clear. Yeah.
So I did look at because I flew into Toronto and Toronto to Ottawa. I looked in each of the airports and was looking at the stuff like, and I should have looked a little bit better in Toronto, but I kind of was crunched for time. And when I was hanging out early in the airport to come home in Ottawa, again, I was looking at and it was tiny. Ottawa's tiny.
Was Ottawa a tiny airport?
It to me, it was in the part that they sequestered me to do the international, like back down. Cause I went Ottawa to Chicago home to Utah.
Ew.
We could do a whole nother episode just on my struggles getting to and from. And they weren't like big struggles. That just, I went from having plenty of time in between flights to running across the airport each time. And, you know, you're trying to do everything in a carry-on and a backpack. So I've like got my big duck hunting coat on and I'm running through and I get to my seat and I'm kind of sweaty. And I was like, you know, there was one guy that was like, you okay? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like sweating. And he's like, I think he was probably looking at me like, what is happening? It's fine. It's fine. You know, I can't say enough good things about the experience of the hunting up there. I wouldn't say it's totally different, but it was totally different for me. It was a whole new experience. I don't have a lot to fall back on, you know, and I went up there for an experience and boy, did I get one. And then we can just add the other layer of you awesome women that I got to meet and connect with and talk with. And, you know, you guys most of you had all hunted together before.
Yep, we've all hunted together before. And like that's must have been an interesting experience for you, like coming into a group that's hunted together like multiple times. Most of us have. Like me, like your group with us, like me, Emily, and LA, like we've hunted together a few times now. And then to have you thrown in there, and I mean, you just you were like, all right, I'm going limp. It's happening. Like,
and you know,
and you took to it.
Like, oh, I don't want to intrude. And you know what? I would have to say that was maybe the one thing I was partially worried about. It's like, okay, I do know that these guys have all hunted together before, or they know each other in some manner. And here I'm going to be the outsider. Are they going to feel uncomfortable trying to like force welcome me in and try to include me? Wasn't like that. I fully enjoyed sitting there and listening to you guys' hunting stories.
It wasn't hunting. It was a lot of banter.
It was a lot of banter, which
a lot of making fun of, a lot of teasing.
Yep. I kept quiet in that group chat. I kind of was not going to say anything, get up there and really let my true personality out, but I couldn't help it. I made a inappropriate comment.
And did you have some of the danger aid?
I did have the danger aid. I did have some
danger aid.
Danger aid, I did have the danger aid. I learned the cap came off and you could smell it from not far away. So
for those that don't know, our listeners that don't know, our good friend Miss Emily has a habit of mixing tequila and Gatorade, and we all started calling it danger aid because the one morning, actually, my partner woke up ice fishing and saw a bottle of Gatorade, and thinking it was just Gatorade in the morning at like 6 a.m., grabbed this bottle of Gatorade and chugged it, thinking it was straight up Gatorade, and got a mouthful of tequila and Gatorade. And it's now danger aid. Anytime Emily has Gatorade, just don't trust it.
I at least thankfully got that warning. I did get that warning
because I was like, I'm not having this happen again.
I appreciate that. I thought I didn't know that was the naming of it. I thought we just called it danger aid because it's dangerous. You could have lit that bottle from above. You don't even have to get to the lip. You could have lit the fumes from that. And you guys welcomed me in. And I think I said that even before I got up there. Once I finally opened up in the group chat, I believe I said almost to a T in the phrase, I think I found my people. I have found my people up in Canada. Like, it wasn't uncomfortable. I was a teeny bit nervous, but only just because of the travel. I was not nervous to come up and meet you guys. I was so excited. I have probably annoyed people talking about my trip, but you know what's also happened that has been the coolest thing, and why I appreciate that you were doing this podcast so much, is that I started posting, and I didn't even really post that many pictures of it, sharing stuff and things like that. From the moment I got on the plane to leave Salt Lake and started flying, and I had many people just be like, you look so happy. You look so excited. Or as I started posting the actual camp and hunting, you look like you're having so much fun. I want to go. You know what? Awesome. That's good enough for me, because I've been very welcomed. I've always had somebody to hunt with in many capacities, but it's not a lot of women. There are plenty of women that do hunt and do a lot of things, even in Utah. But me going with them, No, I see him at the shops. I see him at the shows. I see, all great people I have. And that's all I want is to be surrounded by really great people. And you come up there now, I've got at least 3 people that I'm like, all right,
Oh,
come with me next year.
you're coming up next year.
Oh, I am 100%. LA was apparently disappointed in my attire. And so I've got quite an exciting entry outfit for next year because
I can't wait.
She called me out. So like if I've heard little bits and I've seen some pictures of your fun shirts, and if that doesn't make an appearance, then I'm gonna turn around and go home. Well, that's not true, but I will be sad.
It's the shorts.
Yeah, but I do believe you posted a picture of a shirt. I would also like.
Yeah, well, that's a Christmas shirt. Yeah, I mean, I have other shirts.
The outfit I have planned, you'll be fine to wear your Christmas shirt in October if you would like. If that's when I come back up or I come back sooner.
I think you should just come back sooner and we just do a fishing trip.
A fishing trip. I did get some invites. Not set in dates, but some invites to come up and turkey hunt. I believe that's April. So I have no reason not to. Got the passport, might as well use it. Have passport, we'll travel. This was the perfect step into it to finding your tags and dealing with you deal with these other, it's the DNR here or DWR or whatever they've gone by here in Utah. They change it. It feels like every year, but you have to go and you have to do all of these, but you know what? It was not a painful process. Yeah. There were people that were willing to help me. The Punisher guys, they had all the links I needed, but you know what? If I was coming up there for a fishing trip, even if I wasn't coming to fish with you specifically, guaranteed I could call you and be like, hey, is this right? Can you help me? Yeah. Can you get me a contact? Yeah. And that's all that I think that most of us women or people, hunters, anybody in general are looking for is just these opportunities to feel welcome, to get these opportunities. Most of us just want to share it with everybody. You don't have to hunt, but it's sure a lot more fun if you do. And it's great. I eat the meat. A lot of people did ask me why I didn't bring any geese home with me. And I was like, well,
yeah, I was going to ask why you didn't do that. Is there, again, I've never traveled international and had to bring meat home.
I hadn't either. I'm sure I could have looked into it, but here's the thing. Where do your geese migrate to?
You guys.
Yeah. It's not like I don't have geese in Utah.
Yeah.
So that, I think with the timeline of it just wasn't, I don't know if I would have had to freeze them. I didn't even look into what would have been required. Now, if I come up there and I were to big game hunt, or if I get my hands on a moose tag or any number of things, I'm going to look into that a little bit better. But where the geese do come down and they migrate, again, I went up there with, I don't care if I shoot a bird. So I didn't even think about bringing a bird home.
It was the experience. You're just like, I'm going to go to Canada. I'm going to do this and hang out with these girls. And because again, it's not just like you're hunting with one female. It was a group of girls. Like we got together as a group of female hunters and killers, and we smashed birds.
Oh, we crushed it. Yeah. I mean, just left and right. I know there's videos out there of just the birds falling and dropping and just.
Yeah, Eugene has a lot of videos. Eugene did some good videos and we got some good pictures. So
just having that is, again, that was all I wanted. When a lot of, people that are hunters that kind of understood it, why I was going to make this trip to go up there, because A, why not? And B, why not? I'm going for the experience. I'm going to go and see the difference. I'm going to go and meet these like-minded women. Doesn't mean I wouldn't go up for a co-ed camp. Doesn't mean I'm looking just for a women's camp. I do hunt mostly with men.
Yeah.
It is the nature of it. I hunt with my family. I'm my dad's only daughter. Yeah. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I got to have a women's camp. And I'm pretty sure we were just as rowdy as any other men's camp was, if not possibly worse. So it's not like it was just, go back to the hotel and have a tea party. We were up there as hunters, as just, talking shop and experiences and gear and helping each other out and learning. I learned
Yep.
so much that I don't even think I fully processed. And here it
No.
is, gosh, today is the 17th of November. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been up there. It's just flying by like that. And you know what? I forgot about I hadn't even really told many people about the gas station bumpy gumdrops, and I'll throw it out there for you now.
The bumpy gumdrops. That's what it was.
The
Okay.
bumpy gumdrops. Yeah.
That's what it was. Okay.
It just, it can't, I don't want to say it can't be topped, but I'll never forget it. I will never forget coming up there.
For your first Canadian hunt.
And the best way to do it. I mean, go to a camp, go to, there's opportunities out there. Go learn, go ask the questions, go meet people. That's even hunting here in the States, even within Utah. It is about community and networking and things like that.
Hold that thought, because we're at our hour mark. We're way past the time. So actually, final note, before you get into what you were talking about. So the way I like to end the episodes, if you've been listening, and which you have and seen, advice other than anything, get out there. As a new hunter, new to waterfowl and stuff like that, other than just like get out there, which is everybody's advice, what would you say to new hunters, whether they're new to archery, because archery is a huge thing for you, or new to waterfowl, which is new to you too? Like, what kind of advice would you give for people out there?
I've been able to kind of iron out this advice for a lot of people. I have some new friends in my life. And so when I start talking about hunting, the one first piece of advice, especially talking to other women, is bring the gear that you think you'll need. Don't listen to anybody else.
Okay.
Because if you get cold, and trust me, like I said, my archery hunting is in August. It's warm in the valley, but it does get cold in the mountains. And I know myself personally enough. If I'm cold, I don't want to sit there.
Yeah.
So people, you won't need that in August. You don't need that much. That's heavyweight. You know what? I do. So when people take their advice, when they give you suggestions about gear or layering or anything like that, take their advice, but don't be afraid to bring what you need. If you get cold, bring the gear you need, because I don't want to be out there if I'm cold. It's miserable. If you're unprepared.
Yeah, and you don't want to hunt if you're sitting there like shivering, and
you can't sit still. You can't be quiet. You're things.
It's easier to take layers off than it is to sit there and you don't have layers and you're like, I want another layer, but you don't have it. It's easier to just have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yep. And there are situations that come about. Like I remember one opening morning, it just downpoured on us. It just downpoured. I mean, and I had some waterproofing, but I didn't have rain gear on me.
Yeah.
And, we weren't really prepared for that. We had checked the forecast before we left. No problem. Shouldn't have had an issue. It was there. It just was back at camp. It happens. But if you can be prepared, like if and you can bring the extra layers, and, there's great gear out there that provide layering. It packs down really small, what have you need. Just trust yourself. And then as you get more comfortable, if you've put in more years, if you've hunted the same area, if you've done a lot of seasons of waterfowl, then you can know what you can bring less of, but just don't listen to anybody else. That's my thing. When it comes to gear and warmth from somebody else that freezes, that is me. I freeze to death constantly. Bring the gear that you need. Don't listen to somebody.
You sound like so Caitlin, she gets cold really easily too, and she layers right up, because again, it's easier to take it off if you need to than if you're sitting in the blind and you don't have it and you're like, I want that.
Case in point, I got the extra opportunity. Everybody else left from camp on Sunday. I hunted again on Monday morning, and I got the full array of Canadian weather. It snowed, and it wasn't that it just snowed overnight. It was actively snowing. And while I did,
you're in a t-shirt on the Saturday, and then on Monday it's
t-shirt and hoodie. I had a hoodie on just for the camo, really. And by Monday, and I had warmth layers, but I didn't have the full waterproofing. And you're just sitting there, and And I held out for quite a while and the birds weren't really moving. And, I didn't have to be like, hey, I can't do this. It was more or less like, oh, I got a flight to catch. So I had that little benefit. So I didn't have to be like, I'm cold, take me home.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I got to be at the airport at like 2 hours before.
Yeah. And, but I got the full experience. And that was another thing I've learned is I'm getting a lot better at overriding this sucks. If you start to get that in your head, this sucks. You don't want to stay out there. You'll go home. I'm
hunting.
I'm learning something every time I go out. I'm learning about myself. I'm learning about what I'm doing, but a lot I'm learning about myself and that I can suck it up and be cold for a little bit.
Bird hunting is very different up here. You can experience a vast array of weather in multiple days. Like my first turkey hunt, it was plus 20 the first day. The second day, it was pouring rain. And the third day, we had snow. All in April.
That sounds pretty close to just October. Yeah. And you know what? Utah does that as well. We, kind of have the fun comments of like, you start out the morning in your winter coat here in the fall. And then by the afternoon, you're turning on your AC again. And then the next day it will be snow. It does happen, but you bring the gear. Bring the gear. Bring the gear that you overpack. Ladies out there, overpack. If you have the room, bring it with you. Bring it with you. Doesn't mean you have to take it in your pack. Doesn't mean you have to take it to the blind. Bring it with you. You will regret it if you don't. So that's usually my tip. Overpack. I'm not telling you to overpack, but bring the gear that you need. Don't listen to anybody else when they say you'll be warm enough. If you have one doubt that you're not going to be warm, bring the gear. You'll be so much happier. So much happier.
Well, that is an awesome piece of advice, and we are we're past our time. So it was awesome chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope to have you on again. I hope to see you again. I hope we either get down there for hunter fish or you come back up here for a hunter fish. I think you need to come up here for ice fishing at some point. And then overpack for that because you will be cold.
I've ice fished before and it wasn't my favorite experience. I will give it another try just for you because
that a girl. You should do it.
It wasn't even I was cold, but it just wasn't a good fishing day. Yeah. So you add that. I will try it again. Doesn't mean immediately. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy for you to convince me to do it, but it's not a hard no. How about that?
Okay. That sounds good.
We'll take that.
Perfect. Anyway, so thank you again for coming on. Thank you for taking out a Friday night to sit and chat with me for over an hour. But so thank you, and thank you for all the listeners, and we will catch you guys for the next episode in a couple weeks from now. Thank you, guys.